All right, we're back at the hive. It's been 2 weeks now since we added our second inoculation frame, and today there should be a good amount of active infection within the hive that we can show the typical symptoms of AFB. So Rael's going to go through it, and we'll get some close-ups of the symptoms actually on the frame.
Yep. So I'm just going to open up the hive. Give the bees a little bit of a warning as we're coming in. Okay, I'm going to go into the brood nest area, but first, before you enter into the brood nest area, you try to go to the outer edge of the brood nest, just so that you could actually pull a frame out that has less likelihood of the queen being on there. So just in case something grabs, you're not going to damage the queen. So this frame was a good one to choose as a first frame we're pulling out. And often just for convenience to go through the actual hive, you take that frame and you remove it, so you just have more space between your frames. So now I'm going to look for where there's brood, and this frame does have brood. And we're going to be looking for any signs of the capping that has some perforations or is sunken, so that the larvae, you have some assurance that the larvae inside is dead. This one seems to be in good condition. And with disease hives, not every single cell will be diseased. At least not at the early stages of an infection. This frame looks good as well. This should be one of our inoculated frames. So I'm suspecting that should be able to spot some disease on this one. There's an open cell right there. Looks like it may have been probed already. Yeah, so this cell has a dead larvae in there, and the larvae has basically decomposed into this gluey mess. And very few things will decompose and produce such a sticky substance. So in the field, we're usually fairly confident that this is an infected larvae with American foul brood. So we could take a sample of this toothpick, and we could mount a slide and do a microscopic kind of inspection of the actual spores to determine if it's American foul brood. The lab at the Veterinary Diagnostic Services verify AFB through culture. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to take several samples of cells, and what we typically do is we will mark the cell that we took a larvae from, so that they can extract more material from that cell. But in most cases, just for convenience, we often will bring in the entire frame. So if we can find more cells, and ideally we'd like to find 5 cells that they can extract material from to prepare their culture. So there appears to be a dead larvae in here, but this one, oh, I think it's American foul brood as well. So we have a second cell. There is a bit of a perforation right here, but that could be a emerging bee. Yep. I might have to spin it around.
Sunken one there, maybe.
very liquidy yet. I'm still getting that glue, so I would definitely say that's still a candidate for selection. And I'm just going to quickly run and get another couple toothpicks. So we now have 3, and we'll just check the other side to see if we can find a couple more. Well, 3 would be enough to submit this frame. We might look at the next frame over and see if that one is a better candidate to submit. So we know that there was 3 in this one. I'm actually going to make my life a little bit easier. If you just shake off a bit of the bees, you just be able to see a lot easier. And this side seems to have a few more. So that looks like it's a dead larvae, but it's not at the right consistency yet. That's a sunken larvae now too, but it's still not, hasn't browned up, so it's not going to exhibit all the characteristics yet. There's again another dead one, but I think it hasn't changed color much, but it's starting to get a lot bluier. I would say that would be a candidate. It probably would have some spores. But I think the other frame is what we're going to be submitting for now. I think the previous frame is exhibiting more clinical symptoms of American fall brood. So I think that will be the frame that we take. I'm marking this frame as possible AFB and the year, just so that it could be submitted that way. And what I might end up doing too is I might just try to identify the cell where we took these from. So I don't know if it's marking it. Red marker tends to do it. In case those toothpicks fall out, but the staff at the lab should be able to identify the cells without markers. And in order to kind of contain all the honey and all that, the lab would like to receive a sample where they can expose it without being all sticky. And paper or newspaper is a good first layer, and then you can put it into a bag. Paper is also nice as a first layer where you can wrap it and then you can write a lot of information right on that first layer of paper, and then we can submit it in the bag. So we're just gonna wrap this frame up. We'll often put the beekeeper's name. If you have the apiary site, the date collected, and the submitter. All this information will be included in the submission paperwork. But just in case that submission paperwork gets separated from the actual sample, it's always good to have this information directly on the sample as well.